Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are moving right along on this lightning build. We've already got, in the previous videos you've seen, we got that notch knocked out. Went ahead and tacked on the link tabs to the axle. We still haven't messed with the coilover tabs yet. Once we get the link system set up and all tacked in, then we'll get those bad boys in. Got the link bars, lowers set into place, and they are level. Just using a strap. Use whatever you can use, right? All my jack stands are in use. We also started working on the crossmember. We got this one all beefed up with some strength plates all the way around it. Went ahead and already welded the notch in. Once we get this all welded up, we'll set it into place. I've already checked it off camera, and I can put more than my hand through there, so there's a good gap there. This notch is gonna work out really well. Already got the caps on it, so that way it'll be nice and sealed up. This is where the frame will go. You've seen in the last video where I had it set for mock-up. We'll get this bad boy clamped in, then we'll start working on that upper wishbone. Once that wishbone's in, we'll weld the whole suspension, get that all done. Then we can start getting the rear axle assembled. We got to work on the brake lines. I have to narrow the brake lines. It's sitting over there in that dump bed, whatever, just sitting over there chilling. We got to get that in there. The axle for Mosier, that was too short, is in that box, and the replacement should be here any day. It's already on the way. That was some welding. 97 stitch welds. I didn't want to put the weld next to another weld and kind of steal that load. So I staggered them, not we. I didn't do those on purpose. I didn't want that weld there or there. It's still warm, wow. I've let it sit for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But it's a lot of welding, so it'll definitely be warm. All the way around. Let's see if I can touch it barehanded. It's hefty. Definitely nice and sturdy and hefty. Reinforced. Plated on the ends, as you saw. Just a reminder, you need any work, send me a message. I'll give you a quote. Let you know how far out I am on work. Depending on what it is, if it's just a notch or in a shock relocation, something like that, I can usually squeeze you in, no problem. Something like this, that's a little bigger, depending on what workload I have coming and who's scheduled, might be able to work with me. Doesn't hurt to ask and find out. So next, we'll set this in place, like I keep saying. We'll clamp it in, and we'll get the lower link bar tabs tacked into place. And then we'll start working on the upper. I gotta make a plate. I'm gonna box in around where this tube is, the square tube. I'm gonna make a plate that comes up, down, and around it. And that way I can weld the top, can weld the bottom, and then we can weld that tube around on that plate to give it a little more reinforcement, a little more strength. I'd rather it overbuilt than underbuilt. coming together nicely. I've got 2¼ inches between the crossmember and drive shaft, and the factory crossmember back there has got like 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches. So that'll give it enough room. Let's see, maybe it's not. Let's see how much room that one has. All right, 1 5/8 that has. So we'll set the rate really stiff on these to where it won't have much suspension, no bound, rebound. We'll do it nice and stiff. Really like how this is coming out. So we'll pull this cross member and we'll weld those tabs solid real quick. Then we'll put it back on. Before, I'm gonna go ahead and measure the distance between these guys. That needs to be dead center, this tab. Set it down here and don't want to forget about it. This I need to clean up, and I need to tack onto dead center in between there. We'll get that tacked on, get both of those, all 3 of these welded up. And then we'll get this back in place. And we can technically weld that into place. I gotta make, like I said, I wanna box it in like I did here. I'm gonna box it in like 3 inches past, all the way top and bottom on each side. I might do a little indentation like Chevy does, so you can access stuff through there. The lines are gonna go behind that plate and clip into the factory clips, and then it'll come on the outside of this plate and then come around. So we'll shift that back over once we get all this how we want it. All I have to do now is set it in place. Then we can tack it in. And we can start working on the upper wishbone. Everything's fully welded. These longer tabs have already cooled enough. I can grab them and touch them. This one hasn't cooled enough, so I'm not gonna grab it yet. All right, gonna take me a quick little break. We're gonna get back on it. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button for me. Turn on notifications, that way you get notified when this thing's done. Oh wait, this is the last video. Well, you can get notified when I bring other projects in and knock out some more badass work like this. Almost got ahead of myself. I just got the measurements for the plate. I'm gonna put a couple inches back here and then a few inches up here to box that in, and I'll be able to weld down each side of that. That way it'll give it a little more extra strength. I already went ahead and started putting the fuel lines that go behind there into place. They're not clipped in yet, but they're set there. I still have to do some bending and stuff like that, get the brake line where it belongs back there along that rail. I just have them near where they go for now. I'll bend some things out of the way however we need when the time comes. Now that the plates are nice and snug, the fitment is tight, that one I have to tap over once I get that side tacked up. These are made out of 3/16, so they're nice and hefty. I'll put a weld, 3-inch weld right here, 2-inch weld back here, and then weld the whole bottom down on that lip. Once we get that done, we'll go ahead and start on the wishbone. Cross member will be completely done. And you ain't pulling that back out, so I'll have to double and triple check all my numbers before welding those plates fully in. Fully welded in, all the way around. And in here too. That'll stiffen that cross member up, keep it from flexing, twisting. And I added, as I told y'all, I added those curves in them. That way you can access a fuel line. So don't mind the gloves, they were there to give extra protection to those fuel lines and brake lines that were back there while I was welding all that up. So now we can finally go ahead and get on that wishbone. We'll put this piece back in, make sure it's at the correct distance. Should be about a 1/2 inch right there, 1/2 inch to 5/8 gap there. That'll give it enough room to go forward 1/2 inch to 5/8 and back 1/2 inch to 5/8 and still have 3/4 of an inch back here. That way, if you pull this out for some adjustment, you're not gonna be at the very end of it. So when I always put these in, even these down here, You can see that gap down there. That's about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 like the other one. And then you can come out the same amount and then still have 3/4 of an inch, something like that in there, a good amount. But you shouldn't have to adjust these at all. I have that pinion angle set, lower bars are level. They shouldn't have to be messed with or anything, but you never know. Sometimes you have to adjust things. I keep tripping over my stand. That's twice now. All right, let's keep going. Really liking how this is turning out, just like I keep saying. You can see the link bars, all done by hand. Came out really nice, got a hair gap in there. Nothing major. So you don't really need a pipe notcher. I mean, it definitely would make it a lot faster, but I have this lined up just where I want it. Can see that line right there. It goes just like that right there. And then we'll make a mark kind of center, and then I'll cut on the inside of that line, and that should be kind of where I want it, because I want the inside of this pipe on that side, the curve, to just be touching so I can go around it. But yes, I'm extremely happy with the way this is coming out, especially for my first time doing link bars. Normally I just buy a kit that you can do yourself and cut them to length, and all the ends are usually welded on. So if this works out, which it will, I know it will, I may just start making my own link systems. Take a quick little break, and we'll get right back at it. bandsaw is doing its thing. I had to cut a little bit off, as when the pipe was fully extended out where I need to cut it, it was hitting this guard. And I could bring that guard back, but I don't think that 1/2 inch would have made the difference. That's my sample piece, test fit. I wanted to see how well the cut would be, because that bandsaw is maxed out. That's as far as I can get that angle. So I'll tell you this, if I'm doing any more tubing, any more notching of these tubing, roll cages, link bars, I'm gonna get a tube notcher. And if you've got one, let me know which one you like. Which one do you think works best? There's quite a few companies out there and they're all slightly different. So in the comment section, give me your opinion on the one you like if you have one, and what's your pros and cons for it. So this lined up, I like the way it sits on there. I want to get as close as I can to here. So I figured right there, the further you are away, the more of a break point, a stress point that is potentially. But you can see right there, there is a gap and stuff in there, but we will bevel that in and make it to where it's a tight fit. Put this back down in here. And these are the link bars I've already cut. These are mock-up bushings. Jason Thorbeck and quite a few other companies have them. Gives you different options to put in some washers for different bolt sizes, depending on what bolt size you use for the tabs and for your bushings and sleeves. And yeah, you need them, they're good. It keeps you from melting the poly bushings or risk of damaging them. These you can't squeeze too much, as they are, I believe, aluminum or stainless. But they just slide right in. And bada bing. They have different sizes for different size too, but these helped a lot when I built my blue truck. And I believe the Nissan I did. They help you keep everything aligned while you're building everything, and you don't have to press in the poly bushings, because when you lube them up and stick them in, they start to get messy and you don't want to deal with all that. Then you got to take them apart to paint it, and this is just a lot easier. So these are aligned at the end right here, and I cut these perfectly square, even though we're lopping them off. But this is the mark of the length I need, and looking down it, that would line up perfectly. But because I have to shave it down some, I'm gonna cut the longer edge on both of them. I'm gonna mark and make sure they're even, and then we'll double check with the marks on there on the truck again and make sure, because once these are cut, they're cut. And if I cut them too short, I'm gonna have to redo all this. I have Dom tubing right back over there. I have that long stick, and then that 5-foot stick, that's probably a little under 4 foot. And then I have a 20-foot stick in my other garage. So, I mean, I don't want to have to redo these. So I'm just going to take my time and double check and make sure all the numbers are correct. You can check your numbers multiple times, but you can only cut once unless you cut over. First one is cut. I will pull it out. As you can see, that end link is 0. That means it's nice and square the way I want it. The clamp doesn't want to clamp. When I push that clamp into this pipe, it wants to twist it. So improvise. I'll take this out, we'll put the camera back up there on the tripod, and then we'll test fit it. If it's too long, we'll trim it. And if it's just right, we'll mark the opposite side and make sure we cut it where we want it. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button for me. Got a lot more nice content coming out. I got another lightning coming through. Fix some items on it. We've got a 2024 Ram coming in. I'm gonna build my 2016. We've got some 50s sedans coming in. I got a list of people waiting. And I appreciate everyone that is waiting. I'm a one-man shop. I do everything as fast as I can with still keeping the quality up. I'm always improvising, always improving, doing the best I can, because no matter who you are and no matter what industry you're in, you're always learning. If you are at the point where you feel like you know it all, have at it. Everything's adapting, things are always changing. You can always learn to do something a faster, more efficient, and better way. So pumped at how this is coming out. I went ahead just for giggles, just to see. You can see how that lines up. I have to clean up. That's as far as my bandsaw will do. So obviously I need to clean up that end right there to make it straight. Probably needed like a 60-degree cut, and I believe those only do 50 or 55. That's the problem with a lot of chop saws, stuff like that. They only go to 45 degrees, 50 degrees. So a notcher, a correct notcher, some of these bigger bad boy ones, they can go to, I think, 180 degrees. So I might have to get one of them and some end links. And then it might be time to start making my own link setups. I think it's time to go ahead and ready to do that. All right, well, like I said, just for giggles, I went ahead and took this link bar, put it on this side, and it matched up identically to where this one matched up. Once this gets cleaned up, this will bring this in closer, and then as need, I'll bevel it. It'll come in tight, and then it'll sit where it needs to be. Here, I'll show you. See? Clean that up, because right there is that way, this is that way. That's the room without the bushings, without anything to be tight. And you cut that in half. So there to there would be right there. I'm not sitting at that straight. That looks like it's not cut straight, but it is. So this, like I said, I'll clean that up a little bit, and that'll get touched right to there. That's almost flush. And you see where the line is on the link bar? I'll trim that to where it's got a nice flat spot to weld onto. I'm not gonna try to weld on this little tiny bit of material. This will get beveled just like the end links are. That way there's more material for it to grab onto, and not just the thin, little lip. Because see, if you just try to weld on there, it's not much, but if I cut this right here flush, square, 90 with this, straight up, then that'll give me more thicker meat to weld to. And this is gonna get cut back. I'm not leaving it this long. I'm gonna take this, I'm probably gonna cut it back to maybe an inch, and then I believe I may make a gusset. I might make a gusset that sandwiches and goes like this, like almost like a 3, and it'll come back, put one top and bottom, and then I may put a little round gusset plate in here. Or, pending the material we have left, I might have enough material. I might just notch this one somewhere here and then put a little tiny brace bar there. That way it's got a nice solid brace to all three, not just welded here. It would be welded here, almost like where this strap is. So we'll see when we get done and see what kind of scrap I have and see if we can do that. It may not take long, and I feel like it'll make it nice and stronger. Extremely happy and pleased with the way this is coming out. I would prefer to have a notcher, but you do what you can do. Numbers are perfect. Gaps are tight enough for me. Lined up perfectly. I mean, look at that. You couldn't ask for anything better. So I'll go ahead and tack it in place, and then we'll pull it off, weld it up. Then all we have left, or maybe I'll just tack it in place and we'll go ahead and start getting the coilovers in. That way I can tack in these upper mounts where they belong, and then we can start finish and final welding everything. We'll do the wishbone at the link ends and up there. We can go ahead and pull the axle out, weld the axle tabs, fully weld the coilover tabs, and then all the welding will be done. Very exciting. So I've done a lot of welding and a lot of fabricating on this. Everything stays under the bed. Look at that, you can see their level right there with each other. All right, let's go ahead and get this tacked up. welded up. Beautiful at that. I am definitely gonna go ahead and start making my own link bars. As these welds came out nice, the gaps were nice. Let me get a glove so I can lift this up. Let me show you the other one. Beautiful. I was going to plate this. I don't think it's necessary. I'm very confident in my welding. All right, we'll let this cool. It's 9 o'clock at night, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this cool in its contraption. That is to keep it from spreading or getting closer. And in the morning, we'll take it out of that and we'll go ahead and start setting up the coilovers. We'll get this wishbone back in, get everything just set in place. Then we'll get the coilovers mocked up, get the upper tabs tacked where they belong. Then we can start pulling, then we can pull the axle out, weld it up. We'll go ahead and weld up those tabs. We can start painting everything. Then we could start routing the fuel lines, brake lines, because to paint that stuff, I'm gonna tape up those fuel lines, but to paint this, I need to pull them away so they don't need to be attached to anything yet. All right, very, very pleased with how everything is turning out on this truck. If you need any work, don't hesitate to hit me up. Your best bet is Instagram or Facebook Messenger. Got the coilovers put together. Made sure to use anti-seize like they require. You can see it on the threads. Have them set where they're supposed to be set. And I knew it was going to be tight. And now we have to do some modifications to this lip. And I have to figure out a way to modify this gas tank strap and figure out what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to take a little break, start thinking about it. I already thought about it a little bit. I mean, I could trim that tab and then trim a half moon right up to that washer and then make these tabs shorter, the distance between here and there, cut it in half, and that'll make it closer to this pipe. So when I bring this back a little bit, it won't hit it. I don't know yet. First thing I can do is cut that little lip off, but I want more than a ½ inch between there and there. And I don't know if I want to do them straight up and down. I technically could. I have enough reach. I have enough brackets. I made enough holes, I guess you'd say. This can still be bolted in to 3 of the holes exactly where it's at. But I'd like to bring that up. I can bring that up at least another inch and mount it something like that. So I'm not sure yet, but like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and take a small little break and think about it. I have came up with a solution. I have kind of rough marked where I'm gonna cut. And as you can see, the gas tank strap's in the way. I knew I was gonna have to shave back to that cross member. And I probably anticipated this, but just kind of, you know, put it in the back of your mind. You know, let's just leave the stuff that we have to modify for later. Yeah. But no, I couldn't even set any of this up until everything was where it needs to be. So it's mocked up here. As you saw, we cut some stuff out on the table. Let me get out of that wind so you guys can hear me. So this right here, now imagine it being this way, okay? But I'm gonna hold it this way so it's easier. I'm gonna use this hole, and this is gonna be there. I'm gonna drill a hole there, but this is gonna be in the opposite, like this, underneath this flat piece. So it'll be hidden back here, something like this. Actually, dang, I didn't know I can do that. So it'll be just like that, and I'm actually gonna weld it. I'm gonna cut the end of the strap off and weld this. It's 3/16, extra strong. And to be safe, once I clean this up, this is gonna be welded very lightly here. And as you see, it's longer because I'm gonna run right here. I'll cut a little slit in it about halfway on both these little guys right here. And I'm gonna angle it. So this gusset will sit on here, something like this. And that'll give it a little strength, so that way no matter how much weight is in that, it's not gonna bend this, where that strap's gonna be. And that strap's not gonna be centered. I'll set this like this to get my marks in a minute. There you go. You can see that strap won't be centered, but that's okay. That's the solution that will work. I am only touching about right here with the coilovers. So I could shave that right there and have like a 1/4 inch, but I wanna make sure there's a good hand or more space, a good 2 inches at least. Coilovers are 4 inches. I measured 6 inches across. That's a center mark for the coilover. And then I did 3 inches a piece, that's 6 inches, so that should give it about 2 inches all the way around of clearance. And I'm keeping track of all these parts, and I might just make this a kit, and I might start, because I have all my measurements, I might start making that wishbone and everything and make this a 3-link kit for the F-150. I don't know. We'll see if there's any requests for it. But that's gonna be it for this one. I know I said this was gonna be the last one, but there's gonna be one more. Still gotta shorten the brake lines on the axle. We're gonna weld the tabs up. We now have to modify these straps and make them work. Get the coilovers on, paint the link bars, paint the frame, paint the axle, assemble the brakes, get the brakes done. Like I said, I got to figure out a new mount as these brackets are in the way. And that was the original mount for the brake line. I'm just going to screw the breather back in and just let that be the breather. And I'm going to make, that's what I'm saying, we're adding more stuff. I'm going to make a tab that goes on here that has a bolt welded to the back of it, a nut, I mean. And that way you'll be able to, somewhere in here or up here somewhere where there's more room, we're kind of limited in here, I'm going to make the new mount for the brake line. That means I have to shorten this brake line and flare it, as well as the brake line that's going to each caliper. Then we have to bleed the brakes, put the wheels on, get some measurements for the bed, then cut out the inside of the tubs. Depending on how much time I have, maybe we'll widen them, but I highly doubt it. We're limited. And also, the other axle came in. We're good. Well, we could take it out and check it. I haven't opened the box yet. The one on the right is the new one. The one on the left is the other original pair we purchased. That's just a single one to fix that one that was correct. All right, everyone. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. That way you get notified when all this content comes out. As always, thanks for watching.